I think we can start.
Okay. Okay. So we are speaking about supervision service, and we will speak also of manager assistant because, as you know, or maybe you don't know, the supervision component is also dealing with the manager assistant on for the supervision part. Half of the service of manager assistant is handled by the supervision component. So I wish to present this because I think it's important to come back to the definition of the service. I don't know how is your knowledge about this, if you know well the functionality of this service, but I prefer to come back to the definition.
Okay.
So, as you know, it is a service. It is a service that is managed by the administrators. The supervision groups are not defined by the user itself, by the administrator, which create and directs the group. Member of the group.
Hi.
Sorry. Hi. Member of the group can be supervised user or supervisor or both. And there is one group maximum per user, and the group are not split between OXI user or ICM user. It is homogeneous groups. So they can be both user in the same group. So this example is only to illustrate the capability of a member of the group to be supervisor or supervisor, or both at the same time. For example, user A in this group is can supervise 3 users and is supervised by the user C. Okay. What can do a member of a group at each time? He can log on in the group or log off. Log on means he enter in the group, and if he's a supervisor, he can supervise the group. Or if it's a supervised group member, he will be supervised by the other member. If he log off, so he's hide from the supervisor. When the group is created, by default, the users are logged in the group. And also, yes, a user which is log off is seen as free by the supervisor. So it's what can do a member in the group, depending on which right he has been given by the administrator. So the main role of the main aim, of the supervision is to notify the supervisor when an incoming call is presented to supervised member in order to allow it to pick up the call. So the service is called supervision and pickup. So the supervisor is notified each time in real time, when the member of the group is modified, when a new member is inserted, or when a member is removed, when also a member is logged in the group or log off outside the group. And this is the notifications which concern the group management. And the second type of notification concerns the telephony supervision, which is the aim of the supervision. So the supervision of the telephony concerns the dynamic state of each member. It includes the telephonic state, either the state free or busy, or if it's in an incoming call, we will present the ringing state if the member, if the supervisor is receiving a call, or it can also be a ringing and busy state. In this case, it is a case where the user is busy in the first call and receive another call. And I would say it's the most interesting use case, because it's the most interesting case that where the supervisor will be able to pick up a call. That means okay. So the information provided to the supervisor concerning the call are the calling party identity, which are calling, and the type of call, if it's an internal or external call. It's information about will help supervisor to decide if it is necessary to pick up the call or not. Okay. Yes. An important attribute that has been added later on the group definition. It was not initially on the group definition at the beginning of the service. It's the attribute supervised on final. It's important to understand what it is exactly. At the beginning, the service has been designed to notify the supervisor only when the call was a direct call. That means when the supervised user is directly called, which is him which is directly called. But in a second time, this attribute has been added to also be able to notify when each time a call is arriving on a supervisor, even if the call has been rerouted before. For example, if the user Y has been called by the user X, but if Y is forwarded on a supervisor A, if the attribute supervised on final is set, in this case, even the supervisor will supervise this. And is it clear for you? I don't know.
Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah, it's clear. Okay. Okay. So I think now this mode is the nominal mode. Okay, this figure just to represent the global architecture of the supervision component inside the Chameleon architecture. So the supervision component is listening to a telephony event provided by RTSM component, which so he is listening to all the telephony event, and it will be able to provide notification from this event. He also listening to the CMS event through the CMS, the chameleon, not directly, in order to be able to modify the supervision content if a member is added or removed. And the third component is the Martin component. It's only for manager assistant functionality. So we will come back later on this part.
Is Martin used only for ICM user?
Yes, only for ICM user and only for manager assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we are speaking about manager assistant of ICM user, not manager assistant in Oxy. Supervision events are sent through the different notifier, and SIP notifier, HTTP, and of course the web service API, SOAP or REST, is handled by the supervision. Okay, so it is a global. There is no problem on this part. So there is an important aspect, which persistent aspect. What is persisted in the supervision? Only the state log-on or log-off of the member in their group must be persisted. So if the system is restart, the status are recovered by the persistent. So as I already said, the supervision is a notification service, which the main aim is to notify the supervisor, which may be several, when a supervised user is receiving a call, an incoming call, or only incoming call, in order to provide the capability to pick up the call. That is the definition. So there are two families of events which must be handled by the client: the group management and the telephony notification, incoming call. Yes, so for a client needs to subscribe as soon as it starts to the group management in order to receive the composition of its group. And he has also to subscribe to the telephony notification, but he can subscribe in a second part only if he has a logon in his group. It's not necessary to subscribe if he hasn't logged on. Yes, so I suggest to have a look on the REST documentation of the service. So the supervision service is in fact what we call the group service. So we will go in the documentation rest. So yes, the supervision is through the groups service, which is here. You will find in this document all the presentation of the two aspects of this service, the supervision service and the manager assistant. So the definition of the different member right and member role, what they can do depending on the right. So all, as I already said, is written in this documentation that you can sign. The operation is quite simple. Sorry. Yes, operation are only get operation to retrieve for user the composition of its group, either for all its group or for one of its group. And the other operation is that the change role is for login or logon in a group. Change role can be to log completely depending on its right. So if you are supervisor plus supervised, you can log with the boss role or only one of these roles. And refresh is just for application when it starts to be sure it's synchronized with its state. So it will be used at the beginning just one time to get the snapshot state of all its supervisors. Notification are, there is 4 notifications. There is 4 notifications which are divided in 2 groups. So 3 first one are for group management, and the last one is for telephony notification. It's most interesting, I think. So this notification on supervised updated will notify a supervisor with all the change on its supervised user. So it contains a list of supervised user states, which include the telephony present state of each of the supervised user, if it's free or busy, or if it is ringing incoming, it will be with a list of calls. Okay, so the call will contain description of the participant which calling, in order to give information to the supervisor if he has to pick up the call or not. Okay, so I will come back on the second part of the documentation concerning the manager assistant just after. So I come back to the presentation. Yes, it's just to illustrate a simple case of what is happening when a call is an incoming call, for example, between 2 users, A and B, which are both supervised by user S. So in this case, A is calling B. So in first time, the supervision is receiving a notification from RTSM that a call is created from on the user A, only on the user A in the first time, and it is translated by the supervision by a notification to the supervisor that user A is becoming busy. For the moment for user B. In second time, the call is arriving on user B, and it's an incoming call on supervised user, so the supervision is translated it on a notification to the supervisor concerning the user B in a state ringing and giving the call. So at this state, the call can be picked up by the supervisor. Suppose that the call is answered by B. So in this case, the user A become active, and in this step, no notification is sent to the user S because user A doesn't change of state. Later, if when the notification of call becoming active on user B, then the supervision will send notification to the supervisor that the user B is becoming busy. So it's no longer, the call is no longer pickable. Is this okay for example?
Yeah.
No? Clear? Here we have the diagram concerning all the different states of supervised user. We have 4 states. So if we start with a simple case which concern only the transition between free and busy of a supervised, when, for example, this supervised is making it's not incoming call, it's outgoing call. Yes, this the supervisor make, for example, an outgoing call, so it becomes busy, and only what will be notified to the supervisor, it's this transition free to busy. This is a simple case. In this case, it's the main case, I would say. The supervisor is receiving an incoming call, so the event is sending to the supervisor, and when the call is taken, we change ringing to busy. Okay. It's a previous example, so it's very simple. And the complete state diagram is when you are in the ringing state, another or several incoming calls can arrive on the same supervisor. So in this state, we stay in the ringing state, but new events are sent to the supervisor with the new call. I don't know exactly how the calls are printed if there are several calls, how they are presented on the final client. I think it's a client decision to present only one call to be picked up. I don't remember on TCP/IP. If in this case the user become busy on one of the calls, and he has, for example, two other calls that are presented, so we enter in the busy and ringing state. So the new notification is sent to the supervisor, and he knows that he is in this state that where he can pick up a call, because the supervisor is busy with another call. So I think it's the main case where the pickup can be done. Okay, so I let you. I will not explain all the transition, but I think it's quite simple, quite clear. Okay, to decide. Yes. So this is all for the supervision service itself. It's more complicated. And now I will come to the manager assistant aspect, which is the second aspect of the component. So the manager assistant is a relationship between two users. Initially, we define it with a filtering level, which represents the state of filtering. So I don't know if you are familiar with the notation FX, NX filtering level, or is it necessary to come back to this notation? I don't know.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So yes, you are. Is it necessary or?
Yes.
Okay.
Necessary.
Okay. So the filtering level, which was the previous definition of manager assistant. So F1 means that the manager is forwarded on the assistant. Okay, all call is forwarded on the assistant. And N for notification. So if one, it means that the supervision is on. It means that if the call, for example, if F0 and 1 means that the call are arriving on the manager, so not forwarded on the assistant, and N1 means that the assistant is notified with the manager call. And if it's the contrary, it's the opposite. If F1 is active, so the call are on the assistant, N1 means that the manager is notified of its own call that have been rerouted on the assistant. So we see that there are two aspects. A forward aspect, which is a pure routing aspect, and the other aspect is supervision aspect. So it's why the manager assistant, it's a kind of supervision group. The routing aspect is handled by the Martin component, and the notification aspect is handled by supervision component. So as I say, an AMA link, it's a supervision group. It's a group of two users, manager and the assistant, where the manager and the assistant can take all of supervisor and supervised, and or the opposite, depending on where the call are routed and if the supervision is active or not. And from service point of view, it's the same service that is used as a group service. So I propose to come back on the definition, on the service presentation, sorry. So you will find the supervision description a second part which concerns the manager assistant, where I come back on the old, the previous definition of filtering level, and how this filtering level is mapped of the new service, which is a manager role and assistant role. So we have 4 different use cases depending of if forward or notification is activated. What mean exactly this 4 definition? Sorry. And depending on this filtering level, we have a transcription which corresponds actually to the manager role. So we consider the assistant role as always the same role, which is active, okay, and we only play on the manager role. So if in F0 and 0, so the manager assistant is deactivated actually, so no, we consider there is no role on the manager. If we are if N0 and 1, so it means that the call are routed on the manager and the assistant is supervising the manager call. So in this case, the manager has the role of supervisor. If it is the contrary, so in this case there is no supervision, but the calls are routed on the manager. So in this case, the manager has only the role of filtered. And if it is both, it means that the call of the manager are routed on the assistant, and the manager has a look on this call. So in this case, he has the both role of filtered and supervisor. Okay? And yes, as I said, the assistant keeps the active role in all these cases. We have a second feature, a second functionality in this feature, which is that the main assistant can be helped by another user, which we call the backup assistant. So in this functionality, all the role of the main assistant is transferred to the backup assistant. So in this case, a third member in the group will be inserted in the master group, which is the backup assistant. And in this case, the manager role will be the same as previously. The main assistant, which is backuped, takes the role of backuped, and the new assistant takes the role of active assistant. Okay?
Okay.
So to go from main to backup, it's only a question of forwarding the main assistant. As soon as the main assistant make immediate forward on another user, immediately a new backup assistant is inserted in the group, and it becomes the new assistant. There were a third role in this service, but you can forget it. It's out of scope. It had been cancelled. It was in group, but, so it should be removed from the documentation. Okay, so I think after of what we can be done on the manager assistant definition. So yes, at the beginning of the service, we took the decision to dismiss the interworking between the two aspects, manager assistant and supervision. We thought that it was better to avoid to mix both of these features, but actually the customer would like to have a mix between these two features. So we'll see later that we have brought some modification on the service in order to be able to supervise a manager or assistant from a supervision group. So as you know, the supervision it's called it has a name which is a sparrow in the database. So it's a chameleon component, which is like RTSM and Squirrel a plugin. This is not a component that we develop in our team. That unfortunately I can't tell much on the code itself, because I don't know. Actually, I don't code exactly. Not like RTSM and Squirrel. So this is yes. This is just it's the same figure that previously. Just to repeat that the supervision component is receiving its telephony events through the event bus. Is directly connected to the Martin component, where he receives the routine notification, and when the set filtering, when he can set the filtering level. So he has its own database for persistence of login, logoff states. What else? So the first client which used the supervision service was 82 phone set. He was using SOAP web service, okay? And now this service is used also by OTCPC. The NOI 3G have forced to use it. I don't know if they use it actually. I don't remember. Normally, yes. It was the first phone set to use the web service REST, based on REST. So okay, it's for the notification part, which is in XML for 8082 through the SIP notifier. And JSON notifier to ACS for OTC client. Okay, so if we go into the component itself, we will find the engine part where which is in charge to build the supervision event. So either the supervision event which concern the group management, either the supervision event which will concern only the state of busy or free of the user, or the supervision event, telephone event, which will concern the call, the incoming call notification. Okay, the database management, which concern only the group member logging or logon stored in the table, and the service part, which concern get group or the change of the role. And here from Martin, we receive the filtering level, which the filtering level are sended in XML notification in the old manner, which was understood by the 8082 phone, which was the first to implement a manager assistant. But also they are sended by the supervision module in a group event change. I have a slide on this part. Yes. So what is the main processing in the core engine? So the core engine is receiving the telephony event, and its role is to decide what happened on this telephony event. So when a telephony event is received, what they call a supervised call change object is created, and this change will be put in a serial of filter, and each filter will decide if this change, if we need to discard the change because the event doesn't satisfy to the supervision module. So, for example, if it is if the user is already busy, if he make a second call, so the user state doesn't change for the supervision, so no need to do nothing. So this change will be discarded. For example, if it is an incoming call but concern which was not initially destinated to the supervised user, and if the boolean that we tell at the beginning is not set, so this call must also be discarded. If the transformation also of this filter can be, the result can be that only a new telephony presence, free or busy, must be generated. So the code is organized like that. A change is passed through successive filter, and at the end of each filter, the call change is discarded or transformed on a notification. Here I put a red cross on this one because I remove on last fix on CR fix. I decided to remove this filter because, as I tell earlier, now we need to supervise manager assistant from a supervision group. So the fix was consists only to remove this filter. Well, if you meet in the code group is native, it means this is a supervision group. There is two types of group: supervision group or manager assistant group. Native means supervision group. Yes, I put this flow is to illustrate what I think about the code. I think you understand what I mean. For me, for example, many things that have been done in this component was unuseful because a lot of there was no need to create a new telephony automate in this component. Unfortunately, they decided to do it, but I did not agree with them. For example, to send free or busy notification, RTSM component already emit this event each time the state of a user is changed. So it was not necessary in this component to make a new telephony automate only to process this state. It was it should be it was not necessary to do that for me. Instead of they calculate again the state from the whole telephony event. But there was a simple solution. So I am not confident with the telephony automate that are in this component, because I think that telephony automate is quite late, and it's already done in the RTSM component. RTSM component send user-oriented notification, and this notification was sufficient for this component to deduce what he has been to send as notification. For example, another example that they decide to analyze the leg modification on the user, and for me it is not necessary. No leg information is necessary for the supervision. No device state as well. Only the user part that is sent in the RTSM notification was useful. But that is why I think that the code is very complicated, too much complicated, and I don't approve it. But it's like this, I can't change it. If I have some more time, I will have done some refactoring. But, okay. So I am sorry, but I can't say more about the code itself on this component, because I didn't do much modification on it. So yes, I will explain what happened about manager assistant change. It's a bit complicated. Not complicated, but we have to understand exactly the relationship between supervision and Martin component. So in this, for example, I take the case where the old VHE, which use SOAP interface, it's change, for example, on a manager or an assistant set. Nevertheless, it's changing the filtering level on the manager assistant link. So in this case, it will use the set filtering level, which is a function of the SOAP service. This set filtering level function will call from the Chameleon service, will call directly the Martin component with the set filtering level command. Then the Martin component will back an event which is MA filtering level change. This event will be wrapped in the Chameleon directly in XML and sent via the SIP notifier to the VHE, which I call the old API. But this is the same event which also received by the supervision plugin, and it will transform this event in the new group modified event, which will be sent on the REST API, for example, for TCP/IP. Here it's the same case, but the change has been done by the OTCPC, which use the new REST API. So for that, use the change role REST function. This change role will be sent to the supervision plugin, which will notify the Martin component with the set filtering level, and after we have the same notification coming from the Martin and wrapped in the same two manner cell or REST. And in this case, yes, in this case, OTCPC will receive group modified.
Okay.
Okay. One word about the DB table. So as I said, the persistence concern only the state supervisor or unsupervised of each membership of in a group. It's only that. They use persistence with Postgres database and using Hibernate component. Okay, I have nothing to say to this part. It's quite correctly. The code is quite clear. I don't know if you know Hibernate. It's quite simple to understand. Just have to define entity class, and this entity class is directly mapped on DB table. I think the persistent could have been directly more simply done in a simple file. There was no need to have dated to that. At okay. Okay. It's not the more difficult part to understand. So I won't say any comment on that. About the package, it's quite simple. You will find the API package for the supervision, which defines the object and the list of service, the event for the event. Supervision interface are for the internal interface. We don't find this internal interface package in other component, but okay. And the core is for either the supervision part or either for the manager assistant part. There is two main parts. The code use injection and visitor pattern. Sorry, I don't know if you are familiar with pattern visitor. It's not my code. If you have no problem with that. To activate log, you know the log level HTML page. So you have simply to use the supervision part, and the log are in the Chameleon supervision log. What I say? Yes, one word about my what I did since the component has been transferred from Strasbourg to Brest. I had to fix two main CR, and the first one was concerning the interworking between supervision and manager assistant. And as I already said, I just remove this filter from the list of filters to make it run. So the customer wanted to supervise the manager or the manager call from another supervisor. So the manager assistant and the manager assistant link is inside a supervision group. And with that, removing the filter, naturally the manager call are supervised by the supervisor. Okay, so it was a simplification because I removed part of the code and not complete simplification. And the second fix was concerning Oxy user. And for me, the main problem was the call model that has been that is managed in the supervision. So the fix was consisting of removing a control that was obsolete in this case. And okay, so what I done actually it's removing some part of code to fix the problem. And what I have to say is all. If you want, we can go through code, but I am not very confident with it. It's quite complex to understand how it works when you go through the logs of the supervision. Because this mechanism of filtering is generate a lot of logs, and quite difficult to know where you are in the code. And but finally, the business code is quite reduced. Business code is what is defined by this different filter: application filter, manager filter, supervision, or yes, I can some word on the different filter. The main filter for me is the supervision change filter. It is where is defined the main feature actually, the basic supervision call where it's decided if a notification must be sent or not. What they call application change filter, it's for example on switch device. For example, on a switch device, so a user which is supervised, if he decides to switch from its device 1 to its device 2, it will receive an incoming call on its device 2. So this call, of course, must not be supervised by the supervisor, because it's just a temporary call to change a device 1 from a device 2, and in any case it must not be supervised. The last filter, which is a whitelist, is only implemented for manager assistant. It is not implemented on supervision. And the whitelist is if a manager has defined phone number that is in whitelist, this the call from this phone number must not be supervised by different another supervisor.
Нет. Поскольку мы сказали, что нас не интересует из других городов.
Okay. It is not implemented on supervision.
Можно ее снять с холда. Я могу форварднуть сейчас. Окей.
Okay, so I hope that you won't have many problems on this supervision. As I already said, it's quite complex to answer on the code because it's too much complicated for me. Yes.
Just for
You know other special places maybe for OT networking?
Networking?
Yeah.
No, I don't think there is OT networking is concerned by supervision because group are not can't be network. No. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. If yes, I once again, if I have some time on it, I would have simplified the code because it's too much complicated. Too much complicated. I don't understand why they decided to make a new telephony automat as it was always it was already compiled in RTS and okay, so you will discover it, but yes, it's quite complicated. For the function, it's quite complicated because the feature is quite simple. It's only notify the group management is quite clear. For group management is no problem, but the part which is too complicated is the telephony part. For me, it was only decide or not if a supervisor must be notified or not.
Does TPC client use only REST API for doing some
yes.
action?
Yes. OTCPC use a REST API. It implements part of the manager system. It's not exactly like VHE, but yes, it implements either for supervision part or manager assistant. It implements the group REST API. Yes. So as I know, only VHE still use the old SOAP API, but it was the first.
Yes, VHE uses a lot of API.
Yes, VHE, and I don't know for 8088, the new Noe phone set. I don't remember if finally, because they started to study the service. They were the first team who studied the REST service, but I don't know if they implemented it finally. Yes. Okay. Yes, I don't think it will be useful for you and me to go through the code because I don't know it. I don't know it as my pocket, so. If you enter it, yes, try to enter as I started to explain with a call change and what happened to a call change through the different filter. This is the main motor, but there is so much code around it, and I am not very confident with. They used. I don't know if you know the decoration pattern. Decoration.
Yes, no.
Yes. Okay. So if you if you're happy with that. Okay, but if you have any question, if I can help, of course, because I have some experience on the code. But
If one question about delivery process.
for what?
For delivery.
Delivery, okay. Delivery, it's always the same as all of our components. So it's a Maven delivery deliver on the package, different package. That's all. No. It's the same as all for our components on Chameleon. There is no specificity. If you make a modification on the API, just Maven delivery on the supervision API, that's all. Or in the core, it's the same.
Okay.
Yes. I know you have some. You ask the same question on for each component, but just it's the same for all our components. There is no display to deliver. No specific process.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could you send us this presentation?
Yes, all
okay.
our presentation will be put on the same share as Daniel. So
Okay.
I will put it on it.
Okay.
Of course.
Thank you.
And for me, I will have another session this afternoon for automated attendant. I don't know if some of you will attend to it.
Yes, of course.
Yes, we will.
Yes, okay. So, okay. So, see you this afternoon.
Yes.
Thank you. See you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.